This winter, as the snow swirls around western Nevada, suspicion and mystery continue to swirl around the alleged murder of State Controller Kathy Augustine. And the questions now seem to be drifting back into the past. What first looked like a freak medical problem, a sudden heart attack in a healthy 50-year-old woman, now appears quite different. Prosecutors say it is medical murder. Kathy Augustine died last July after prosecutors say she was injected with the paralyzing drug succinylcholine, a lethal dose, they say, administered by her husband, registered nurse Chaz Higgs. When Higgs was charged with first-degree murder, it opened up another chapter in this bizarre story, a chapter that had people who knew Kathy Augustine looking back and seeing another series of events and another sudden death in a very different light.
She had mentioned to me it was massive organ failure.
When Greg Augustine's father, Kathy's third husband, Charles, died from complications of a stroke in 2003, he assumed his father had simply taken a turn for the worse.
I remember thinking, how does that work? Does a stroke cause massive organ failure? I was totally shocked at that turn of events.
Suspicious or just shocked?
Not really suspicious then.
But looking back, he's now questioning everything he thought he knew about his father's death, beginning with a moment at the reception following his father's funeral.
There was Kathy.
Right.
Then you saw
Chaz.
Chaz.
Yeah.
What
at the wake.
What was Chaz doing at your dad's wake?
I have no idea. I thought to myself, what is this person doing here?
Yes, it was Chaz Higgs. It turns out Kathy Augustine met Chaz Higgs at this Las Vegas hospital where Higgs had served as Charles Augustine's nurse. Greg Augustine remembered that even then, he had a strange feeling about Kathy and Chaz when he saw them in the hospital cafeteria.
So while your dad was going through what he was going through in the hospital, and Kathy was at the hospital,
right.
Kathy and Chaz were eating in the cafeteria,
right.
but you didn't think anything of that?
Not at first. Not at first. It seemed inappropriate. I remember thinking, I'm not sure if that's in the nurse's code of conduct to have lunch with the... It just seemed odd.
But as Greg Augustine looks back, the most unsettling event may be the one that took place thousands of miles away. It happened here in Hawaii. While on vacation, Kathy Augustine and Chaz Higgs had gotten married. Not so unusual until you consider the date, September 19th, 2003, just 3 weeks after Charles Augustine's death.
What did you think of that timing?
It was absolutely bizarre behavior on Kathy's part. Kathy is a person, or should I say was a person, who makes controlled decisions. And she makes decisions that are based on research and thought. And this just seemed so out of character for her. And it was, I know, everybody was shocked. It's just so out of the ordinary for her. Made no sense.
Were you upset with her, angry at her at that point?
I thought it was angry. I was sort of numb, I think, at that point.
Numb and a bit angry, perhaps, that the man who had married Kathy Augustine so soon after his father's death may have stood to gain much more than her companionship.
When your father died, did Kathy gain monetarily?
Well, yeah, at that point they were divorcing. They had come up with a settlement amount. Instead of getting half or whatever was agreed to, she got it all.
She got everything?
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of that, given that?
I thought it was convenient for her.
They were getting divorced, and he's giving everything to the woman who...
Well, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was fighting that. Yeah. He was retired. She had a career. So at that point, I'm not sure of the terms. We're looking into that, I think. The detectives may be. But it seemed convenient. At the time, I was upset.
In light of Kathy Augustine's death and the murder charges against Chaz Higgs, Greg Augustine set out demanding answers in his father's death. What really happened to his dad, Charles? Could he have been killed the same way Kathy Augustine allegedly was?
Any prudent person would have to go through the decision to exhume their father, because Chaz was his nurse in the hospital.
think of that possibility?
That hurts me. It hurts to think. Because he did have a stroke. He was in the hospital. He didn't need to be pushed over the edge. That's certainly not something that my dad deserved, because he was a great guy.
Greg Augustine wanted answers, and so did the police.